Well, g'day everyone, and it's Sunday, the 23rd of March. The night before, Michelle and I leave the farm and we head off to America on Tuesday for a big trip, John. I'm not looking forward to the 16 hours in the air and a 6 hour drive from LA to Phoenix, but anyway.
No. I'm sure you've sat in aeroplanes long enough, Woody, to know what they're like.
Yeah, but yeah, anyhow, I won't go there, but yeah, not looking forward to that. But Johnny, I think after our broadcast on Friday night, we've got to give a big shout out to our beautiful followers. We've been getting lots and lots of lovely messages of support, and Michelle and I have been really grateful for that. Some of the messages have been just beautiful, and we thank you for it.
Yeah.
And that's why we keep going, John, isn't it?
Mate, it's magnificent. The phones haven't stopped, and I noticed the messages there on Facebook and other mediums. It's wonderful, and thank you because it does make a big difference. Yeah, we'll keep going. Don't worry.
We will
We
indeed, and
will.
I'm wishing Charles McKenzie well. Also, it would be tough being Charles McKenzie. It's tough being me sometimes, and I know it's tough being you sometimes. But we struggle on and we do the best we can. But Johnny, tonight's a special one because we have a guest with us tonight who's going to talk to us about the crisis in frontline services in Australia. In this case, we're going to be talking about the regional rural fire service, I should say, in New South Wales, which has become a shemozzle. But John, we've got career firefighters in Victoria, about 40 of them who still can't get back to work, even though the mandates are a thing of the past. And I put that down largely to a belligerent union leader,
Yeah.
a manipulative mongrel. There's no doubt about it. Sorry for the language, but that's what he is. And we've got, Queensland paramedics, about 40 of them still not back at work, even though
Yep.
the judges ruled in favour of these people, still not back at work. We have police officers, like Justin Paul and Natalie Vassallo and people like that, Roland Crystal, still not back at work. And now we're confronted with, largely thanks to you kicking this can down the road, John, on 2SM the other day, a whole stack of whistleblowers coming out about the RFS in New South Wales, which is, it would appear, is operating deceitfully. And to talk about that, we have the head of the Volunteers Association, Firefighter Volunteer Association. We have Jon Russell joining us tonight. G'day, John.
Good evening, Graham.
It's
Good
great to
evening
have
to you,
you
John.
on. Great to have you on. So, John, you and Johnny Larder have been talking about this. You've also been on 2SM. So, Johnny, fire away, mate, and let's get this unpacked.
Mate, well, to give a background on myself, I mean, I joined in early November, sorry, 1979 as a 19-year-old. I joined a bushfire brigade because it's what you do in Australia. You get out there and you help when people are in need. And, my dad was World War II, my brother was Vietnam, so I was bushfire brigade. Give him a bit. I love it. I love it. When you know you've saved someone's house, there's no better feeling. I don't know all the volunteers across the service that join for that same reason. It's what you get out of it. Just saving one house and you've kicked a massive goal. It makes you feel so good. But it's grown and it's grown and it's grown and it's kept growing, but it's well and truly overgrown. It's just out of control. It was originally under local council control, local government, and each district had a fire control officer with a number of staff in the office, and we got anything we wanted done. There was an issue certainly with funding because the further away from Sydney you go, the rate base diminishes, so the available funds for fire trucks and equipment shrunk as well. So they used to rely on getting second-hand trucks out of Sydney. But then the state took us over back in around about 1998, I think it was, and all the staff in the local council offices were taken over by the state. They're now full state public servants, and it's just exploded. Now, we need staff to support the volunteers in doing the job. They assist us by giving us the tools to do the work. But it's just out of control. And now, sadly, it's really all about the individuals focusing on the massive salaries that are out there. Not all of them, but if you look from the commissioner down, I mean, the commissioner's on just over $500,000. You've got 2 deputy commissioners that'll be on over 300,000, plus they all get a car. Then you've got about 6 assistant commissioners. They're on 275,000 a year, plus a car of their choice. Then you've got area commanders. There's probably a dozen of them, and they're on best part of 200,000 plus a car. District managers, 150,000 plus access to a car. It just goes on. The amount of money that's gone into head office and everything else is incredible. But along the way, the staff have lost focus of the reason they're there. There are some good staff, don't get me wrong. There are some very good staff out there, and there's some that we would really fight hard for because they're lovely people and they value us and they respect us and they do everything for us. But there's so many at the moment that are, and as I quoted to Chris Smith the other day, they're constantly hitting volunteers over the head with this stupid new code of conduct and all the RFS's core values. They want us to practice it, but they don't want to. If a staff member at the moment treats volunteers as low as can be, they'll get away with it. But if a volunteer looks at someone the wrong way, they will suspend them. They give the investigation to a number of private companies, which it's costing a squillion for. The investigations drag out forever. As I mentioned to Chris the other day, Deniliquin is the mid-Murray zone. You've got a gentleman out there who is absolutely the best there is, and the whole community supports him. But funny enough, last year it was Are You OK Day, and he gets a phone call from the district manager to tell him you've been suspended. I'm sending you an email with a letter attached. And he got that about a week later. And when he looked at it, it said you're suspended. But it didn't give any reason why. It was 3 months before he found out that it was a claim of bullying and harassment. To the best of our knowledge, that claim is coming out of the district office, and that's where all the problems are. On New Year's Eve, you had a salaried administration officer out there put the most absurd comments on Facebook, and has gone on to say about how this person describes, I love my workplace, I love my work colleagues, but I'm sick of dealing with narcissistic so-and-sos. And then she finished it off again with the same blatant comment. Then you've got the area commander who's on nearly 200,000 a year on a car. She chimes in and she says to her, yes, Happy New Year to you and the family, kiss, kiss. P.S. F them all and their BS. I mean, that's a lovely comment from an area commander. Now, she should be sacked. She should be sacked without question, because if a volunteer did something like that, you'd be gone like that. But so far, she's still there. Now, I wrote to the Commissioner on the 15th of February, and that was one of the 8 points that I put to him, that she be terminated and the district manager be moved, because we're sick to death of him playing favourites with all the people out there, and he's got his own little group wrapped around him. This is what's going on across the district, the state, I should say. It's just a mess. You know, there's districts that are the most discriminating. If you're not in the club and you apply for a training course, they'll do everything to keep you off it. That's what goes on. This is what, I mean, I've had a letter yesterday I read from a lady. It's a horror story. I went out today to do some shopping. I get a phone call from a gentleman who rang me. I've got to ring him tonight. He said, I heard Chris Smith the other day with he was talking on the radio, and he said, please, could you talk to me? I've been through hell. There was a young lady in the Southern Highlands last year that attempted suicide. Now, we checked the whole thing out. It wasn't directly because of the RFS, but they were the thing that just pushed her over the edge, because she had some personal relationship issues and there was a threat of an AVO being put on her. Someone's carried a story back to the RFS, so they've called her in and given her this very, very formal documented thing that says you are being stood down from the RFS. She went home and attempted. See, they just don't get it. All of these managers, a lot of them are mates of mates. There's husbands, wives, kids in there. It's a big family show. and it's just.
Tom, can I ask you from the days of 2019, and I was flying back then, and I remember flying up and down the East Coast thinking I've never seen Australia so cooked.
Yep.
It seems like Fitzsimons was the public face of the RFS, and he appeared to be doing a great job. Was that the case, or were things bad even back then?
Look, on the 19th of December 2019, I was at a house at 14 Peak Road at Buxton in the Southern Islands. Within minutes of getting out of the truck and getting our hoses, the next thing, the back of our truck was being attacked by fire. We were in the truck, and I'll be honest, I didn't think we were ever going to come home. I thought we were history there and then. I've never seen fire move like it. I've known Shane since he was a young fella. I knew his late father, good bloke, George. I think the RFS has just got too big now. Too big, far too big. There's so many volunteers when I travel around the state, and I've done a lot of travelling lately. They're all saying the same. I'd rather see it go back under local council control, because if you had that, when you've got unhappy volunteers, the mayor and the general manager get the fire control officer in, and I can assure you the problems were fixed fast. Because this is such a massive public service organisation, they get away with anything. They all come around and lock in and protect themselves. Volunteers are just nothing, which is so sad.
Johnny Larder, it goes back, John Larder, to what Jack Cruz was saying the other day about decentralisation. Centralising all these services is not working. You've only got to talk about your own organisation, New South Wales Ambulance. Everything's been centralised. There's a massive management structure, and it all goes sour. We need to go back to the days of Hessian bags and knapsack sprays, obviously. At least we got things done, did we not?
Well, the problem is, Hoodie, you're dead right. I mean, these people, it's like a protection racket. They're all fighting for money. The CEOs are all trying to justify their budgets. They've got an expanding back of house. They've got people doing specialist people, like in ambulance terms, they've got specialist paramedics looking after the Mardi Gras float. There's probably half a dozen of them doing it. I mean, the same thing goes on in the RFS. I mean, the woke have taken over. Nobody's out doing their frontline work anymore. I mean, they're too interested in getting involved in all these niche activities because they can attract some state funding. I mean, look at the ambulance service in terms of the flood rescue. I mean, they shouldn't have anything to do with flood rescue other than resuscitating people when they pull them out. I mean, why are they running around in rubber duckies and spending all this money when it's the SES's role to do it? I mean, surely you want your paramedics working on people who are having heart attacks rather than sitting around on the side of rivers waiting for John Deere tractors to float down. I mean, it's completely mad.
There's plenty of people having heart attacks too who need these paramedics as well. So, Johnny Russell, the figures of volunteers, according to the RFS around the state of New South Wales, they reckon they've got 80,000 volunteers. Tell me about that.
Well, actually, 70,000 is what they've spruiked for years, Graham. And then it started a couple of years ago. I think probably 5 years ago, it started to creep up to 72. Then we had 73 and 74, and everyone just laughs. We all know they don't have that. I mean, if you had 70,000 members, you could fill the stadium at Olympic Park. That's a hell of a lot of people.
Yeah.
But every time there's fires, since 19, it's just got worse, because since those fires of 19, followed by COVID, so many people have just walked away. So many people are saying, I've done my bit. I've spent time with the kids. To hell with it. I'm staying there. And we can't get crews. Now, about the 70,000, we had people inside that leaked information to us about 10 years back. We've seen a record that shows 70,000 names. But as I said to Chris the other day, a good mate of mine down the south in the Shoalhaven, he said, the district manager came to me with a list of active members in our brigade. He said, the first guy was dead. It had been for 10 years. The second one, he said, I looked at my wife, Anne, and I said, look at her. She left to have a baby. The baby's now in high school. I said, that's exactly right. I said, the brigades are full of ghosts. But see, Graham, you can join the brigade by filling out the applications, but you try and get somebody to write a simple email that says, I resign. It's like pulling teeth. And so while ever you're waiting for that letter that says, I resign, their name stays on the books. And that's how the RFS loves it, because they then go to the minister, look at all these names, boss, we need all this money. Well, that's just rubbish. I mean, at the moment, it's so bad in the Mid-Murray, they have all threatened to walk away. They moved a motion of no confidence in the district manager and the area commander. Now, there was a fire at Moama a week ago, and we get the screenshots of the what's called RFS active, and there's just endless thumbs down, which mean they're not interested. They're not going, and that's exactly what they told us they would do. The local member, Helen Dalton, she's been actively engaged. Her staff are working pretty hard. They've had about to have the second meeting with the minister, but we've requested a meeting with the minister urgently as well. But you can't get crews. No one's interested anymore. They've lost it. The RFS is, they're just, people are sick and tired of getting hit over the head with all these stupid rules and regulations, because it's all focused on volunteers, but staff can get away with it. And that has got to stop.
We were talking to volunteer firefighters in the New South Wales area, John, who was saying that their brigades were shut down because of the mandates. They had nobody to operate the
well, that's right. But I mean, I'm in Sydney, and even my brigade's been closed since last May. We've had issues with the district manager, and the place has been shut since then.
Now, how's that, John?
So there's one brigade for you.
That is just rubbish. You couldn't make that stuff up. I mean, after 2019, you would expect that they would have had a wealth of recruitment going on after 2019. You know, being a firefighter in 2019 inspired a lot of people. We've got to come back out of our shell, be real Aussies and help out. And yet, in spite of that, the bureaucracy that is the RFS has destroyed that opportunity, because whenever there's a big fire, there's always an uptake in volunteer applications. My wife Michelle and I applied to the local brigade here, and because of COVID and mandates, they accepted our application, but they kept us in abeyance for 2 or 3 years, and we just called them up and said, pull us off the list. We're not interested.
I'm in an isolated community, so I'm very limited on the membership. I've got an aging community, and we had one young man who's about 25, exceptionally young man, very switched on, four-wheel drive savvy. I thought, hallelujah, great. And then COVID comes along, we've lost him because he chose not to be vaccinated. And we've lost him. I've tried to ring him a number of times since. He doesn't answer. He's just over it. That's sad. But I mean, another thing, Graham, about the stupidity of what we go through, the bureaucracy, the rules. Volunteers for endless years have raised millions and millions of dollars to build fire stations and to do extensions. Now, the stations are all owned by local councils. So the volunteers, particularly in my own case, they raised all the money to build the station. The council immediately takes ownership of it, but then hands the control of it to the RFS. Now, recently, 5 of my residents wanted to have a meeting with 3 of the local councillors. The council owns the building, so 3 of the owners are coming. But no, I had to fill out a very lengthy approved activities form, and you have to fill out a risk assessment. Now, they want to know what risks are the non-members face. Well, that's the councillors. So the 5 residents, 3 of them are actually community fire unit members, so they're members. But those that aren't officially members, what's the risk? And I actually jokingly wrote, I said, well, they could burn their little finger from dipping their biscuit in their cup of tea. I mean, this is how stupid it is. The place has gone mad. Every time you want to do anything in your own station, you know, you've got to go through district managers now. Everything's got to be approved by he or she. Yet we were the ones that raised the money to build these stations, and now we've lost. You just give up. You wouldn't raise another dollar again for them. Waste of time. Now councils, I'd love to see them take it back.
Johnny Lada, let's have a really good talk here about aviation assets connected to the RFS, because that's close to your heart. There are ample operators in New South Wales who can furnish a service that would be there on the spot when required, rather than having, like if there's an out-of-season wildfire in the US, like we just had recently, Colson's assets are restricted. The aging fleet, or the broken down fleet that the RFS seems to have involved themselves with at the moment is nothing but a headache because of maintenance issues and and poor standards. You've got to say the standards are incredibly poor. Reporting is non-existent. Mandatory reporting of incidents is non-existent. It's a mess, isn't it?
Yeah, Hoodie, it's an absolute mess. And I mean, I'm not sure exactly how bad it is, but it is very bad. There's no doubt about it. They tried to get their way out of it. Look, they've got what I would call career politicians, and that Ben Millington fits into that. As far as I'm concerned, I mean, he was a police officer for 10 years. He was the driver for one of the assistant commissioners. He wound up in an assistant commissioner's role at the RFS. I'm not sure what he knew about fires when he got there. But now he's the aviation specialist or director. I mean, I'm certain that he probably doesn't know much more about aviation than how many frequent flyer miles he's got in his account. I mean, I might be wrong. I don't know, but I mean, how does this stuff go on? I mean, for starters, this appointment of this overseas company, Colson's, $440 million. That's just for the HR side of things. That's not the operating budget for maintenance and everything else. That's just to put the pilots on the seats and the engineers and the admin staff. So I mean, look, there's so many stories. I mean, Chris Smith's going to talk about this next week, but there is certainly a culture of what I can see of non-reporting. The RFS, Keith Mackay. I mean, I've been told that he's one of these senior managers that's up to his earlobes in all this. He was apparently in the US over the last week, presumably on the public purse. Over there at the Vertical Conference in America. What's he looking for? New helicopters to replace the ones that are falling out of the sky? I just don't know. I'm hearing, Hoodie, that three of the 412 helicopters they've purchased, these ones they've got out of Venezuela with all the bullet holes and the blood, they need 5 yearly inspections, which are a massive cost. I've heard recently that the 737. Now, this is yet to be confirmed, but I tell you, it's a big story if it's true. The 737 that they have on the American register that's owned by a bank on behalf of the RFS, it's apparently due for a spa in 700 hours. And you know what that means, Hoodie?
That's a big job, and I tell you what, you've got to have a really good spa to do that kind of flying. The wing spa is the first thing to go when you're doing that kind of flying. Look, firefighting from the air is a very tricky job. It is a dangerous job. It's one I'd love to do. I would love to get behind the wheel of a 737 and do aerial firefighting. What a buzz that would be. But there can be a lot of gung ho operators in those kind of jobs, and that's been rogue pilots happen from time to time, or people become a bit careless or get carried away. They go just outside the envelope one too many times, and you have a disaster. And we've had a few of those out here already. But at any level, Australia has the capacity and would have no trouble getting crews to operate in an environment that was properly managed with our own assets. I mean, you look at Pay's Air Service in Scone. They've got a great firefighting helicopter fleet. They're using ex-military Black Hawks. I used to work for Pays before they became that big. I was crop dusting with them way back in the 80s. But
They got the 802 Firebirds. I mean, they're another company that is going to be put out of business by the RFS. And that's what's happening. That's the real sad part here, Hoodie. It's not just about the safety. This is about the RFS coming in and this anti-competitive behaviour with existing Australian businesses, because that's what they're doing. They're buying assets with our money at great expense, and they're not the greatest assets. They've got three Chinooks up at Richmond. Two of them are in hangars. They call them the Christmas tree. They'll never fly. They asked Boeing apparently to maintain the one that is able to fly, and I'm told now this is yet to be confirmed, but Boeing refused to maintain it because they were concerned about some of the issues with the airframe. So now, who knows? Look, this is really, really stuff that needs to be examined at a forensic level. And look, Jon Russell, I mean, you must be concerned. I mean, with what you've heard on radio with Chris Smith and the whistleblowers that are coming forward, you must be concerned that volunteers are in a situation where they could be asked to hop on these aircraft.
Absolutely. That's the last thing we want. I mean, look, my knowledge on aviation, you gentlemen are absolute experts in your field. But I mean, I want to know that I'm going to, it'd be like wanting to jump on an aircraft that's quite Qantas on it. I feel safe. These ones I can't answer. What I'm seeing at the moment does look very scary. I know nothing about, as I say, about aircraft, but hearing things like cables snapping on buckets and flying up and taking out holes in the base of a chopper. I mean, if that cable had have hit the blades, I'm not Einstein, but I think I know where that aircraft's going, straight down, and I'd hate to be on it. So yeah, it's
Once again, we've got bean counters who are running the whole thing. And look, it's no different in Qantas. The maintenance standard has dropped off in Qantas. I get enough information on a daily basis to talk about the drop in standards in Qantas. And you hold its reputation high. I was proud to work for it in its glory days, but it's far from its glory days now. And it's because the bean counters and the the career CEOs and CFOs are destroying these organizations. They really are. There's too much box ticking. There's too much work health and safety. There's too much are you okay? And not enough of looking after the show. And that's the big problem. So where do we go from here?
Graham. Even in my own brigade, I've got a guy who's my 2IC. He's my brigade president. He's 29, highly skilled. He was there with me through the 2019 fires. He's walked away. He's just walked away because of the treatment of us in our district. And he said to me what I'm hearing from so many people, it's not fun anymore.
No.
And how sad is that? This guy's 29. He was my succession plan, but through the management of the district, hitting over the head with all the sticks and the rules and involving us investigations, the brigade's been shut for 12 months. He's walked away, as he said, because it's not fun anymore. No, everyone's lost interest. It's just sad. I mean,
well, this is the problem, Ron.
One of the issues I mentioned the other day to Chris, volunteers getting charged by police, the RFS setting them on. I mean, I can tell you back in 2016, one of my deputies was accused of dangerous driving en route to the fire zone, through the actual hazard reduction fire zone, middle of a working weekday. One person said they thought he was driving dangerously. A district inspector called the police, set them onto him. He was charged with dangerous driving, appeared in Manly court twice, ended up in the district court before Judge Paul Conlon. He threw the whole thing out and absolutely hammered the RFS, but not before this young man, his girlfriend had left him. He'd broken down. He was in some pretty dark spaces. It cost about $80,000. He's not allowed to talk about it, I've only found out recently, because it looks like somebody may have paid his debt and said, sign here, don't say a word. Now, how many of those cases are going on at the moment? You've got the guy out of Deniliquin who works for fire and rescue, but he's a volunteer as well. He gets accused of theft of a hose nozzle. The district manager again put him into the police. They charged him 1 count of larceny. And that's when the area commander sent this disgusting email out to the whole community about him, excommunicating him. No one's to talk to him. No one's to go near him. And he was deemed a health hazard, she said. I've got the email. And then, of course, the day it goes to court, the police dropped the charges, insufficient evidence. But not before the RFS kicked him out of the service and he's left with a $5,500 debt. How many volunteers are getting charged by police and it's all getting thrown out? Look at the 2 guys in Hawkesbury last year. They've been hammered and bullied, discriminated for so long, they got fed up, took them to court. They lost the case on a technicality. And so now the Crown Solicitor's Office has written to both of them demanding $800,000 between the 2 of them for court costs. Who would join the RFS? Who?
Not this little brown duck.
Oh, it's a basket case, isn't it?
Absolute lunacy.
Yeah, well, you can see why they're wanting to strengthen their aviation air force because there is no volunteers. They're not likely to keep their volunteers at any rate. So they've got to have something in their armory. So this is where it's mad.
Mate, you can bomb fires till the cows come home. If you haven't got boots on the ground, you're not going to deal with it. You're not going to beat it.
Right.
You've got to have the boots on the ground.
That's right.
And
Helicopters can drop water onto the fire, but you've still got to have someone go in there, roll the log over, and smother it in dirt, put it out with a knapsack, whatever.
unbelievable.
We're in real trouble in this country. I mean, I'm just listening to this. I mean, it's all this woke stuff. This is the problem. I know of people that go into work, whether it be at ambulance, at nursing, police, whatever it is, fire, RFS. They go in and they'll be behind on their e-learning garbage, and so they'll take them off duty, regardless of what staffing levels they've got, because they need to tick the box for the manager. And they'll sit at a computer for 6 hours doing the cultural awareness of Aboriginals so they can talk about this, or they can learn about, fire safety for 6 hours, about how to put not to put fat on yourself or something. I mean, this country's gone mad.
Look, I go back to probably a year before I resigned from Qantas. Um, my base manager at the time was a fairly pedantic sort of bloke. And there was a 2 minute delay attributed to me in departure out of Brisbane going to Cairns. And about 6 weeks after the event, he sends me a letter and he says, please explain why the aircraft was 2 minutes late boarding. And I said, I don't know. I can't remember. I can't remember why it would have been late yesterday. Anyhow, a few weeks later, he comes back and he said, is it true that day when the aircraft was late that you went off the airplane to buy yourself a coffee? And I said, I don't know. I may have done. I don't really know. He said, well, we've been interviewing people on the flight that day, your crew, who said that you left the flight deck to go and buy a coffee. And I said, how much time have you spent investigating this 2 minute delay? He said, about 11 hours. They were calling people in to ask them why I delayed the flight. And it had nothing to do with me getting a cup of coffee in any case. I mean, this is the sort of madness that we have. How much would that have cost?
Well, look, I think we forget, Hoodie. I mean, this did go on in the old days. I remember when I first joined the ambulance service, they used to get the phone bills in, and the government wouldn't pay them. That they would make the staff pay and so you if you said you made two private calls, you'd have to put in the 30 cents or whatever it was. And if they couldn't account for it, I know a superintendent that got the phone list, and he would start ringing every person on that list to find out if they knew anyone from the ambulance service.
At 20 cents a call.
At 20 cents a call. This is the sort of mentality you're dealing with. I mean, these people, they're absolute dopes. I don't know how they continue to employ them, and these are the grubs that rise to the top. Like they become the best of the best in these New South Wales ambulance and the RFS. I mean, they rise to the top, these dopes.
Well, the RFS management at the moment is going to be under a fair bit of pressure because the whistleblowers are going to come out left to right and centre, thanks to the work you've been doing. And they've got to now stand by the stated fact on radio that they're not going to prejudice any whistleblowers that come forward. So,
well, interestingly enough, too, Hoodie, you'll find this interesting that the RFS have actually put on their Facebook page that the aviation division is in trouble. Well, words to that effect, and well, there's been allegations that they're in trouble, and they want whistleblowers to come forward now, and they're giving CASA's details out and the ATSB. I mean, this is after Ben Millington said there's nothing to see here, the aviation director, nothing to see here. We're confident that they're doing the right thing.
You mean the commissioner's former chauffeur? Is that who you're talking about?
How many?
He's only just come back. He actually took a 12-month role as acting chief officer of the Queensland Rural Fire Service. He's only just arrived back, so it looks like this is the role they've given him right as this has blown up. So
a career firefighting bureaucrat.
Yeah, one thing we want to do is we want to lodge a GIPper. We want to find out how many cases over the last 3 years volunteers have been suspended or involved in investigations, and the companies that have been given the work and how much has been expended to those companies, because some of them I'm hearing are getting a lot of work and there's a lot of money going their way. And we seem to be getting a lot of people in the organisation now in key roles that have come from another emergency agency. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Just
Yep.
like, yes. So it just makes you wonder. There's a lot of investigations and they're all big bucks.
Well, it defies belief. I mean, I went onto one website that's got an investigation company that's got contracts with virtually every emergency service and council and local government provider in New South Wales, and the management or the of that company are on the board of some New South Wales entities that they're actually getting work from. I mean, you couldn't make this stuff up.
I was just about to ask you what you thought about that, and you just answered it.
Just like, what a joke.
It
Well,
is an absolute joke.
we've got to
I
go
don't know
there.
what you say. And then, we've got incidents where I'm told people are being a person was electrocuted with a three-phase power cut and they didn't want to report it. Nothing to see here.
Yeah. Well, we've got a guy in the RFS in the Cumberland zone, which is Penrith, Blacktown area. He was the district HSR. Because he lodged a PIN, the RFS have stood him down. He took it, he's taken it everywhere, took it to safe work. He got no support. He took it to the Ombudsman. They contacted him a week ago on Friday, and they told him that the government doesn't like to sue government agencies, but you can sue individuals. So they've directed him now to identify all of the people in the RFS that were involved with standing him down and to take legal action against them.
Well,
but the trouble is, the RFS has got a pot of gold. They just keep beating you over the head again. They've got all the legal power, and it's your tax money, mine.
What's Shane Fitzsimmons doing at the moment?
No idea. He's gone very quiet. I believe he's acting as a consultant, but I don't know who to.
He went to disaster management, didn't he? After
yeah.
That didn't end well.
Our Glad put him in there as the resilience commissioner or something, wasn't it?
That's right. Yeah. He was the guy who organised all the motorhomes for people to live in Coracai.
It's funny, I would mention about the current commissioner. I've known a long time, and I find him to be a pretty decent fella. I really do. He's always answered the phone to me. If I send him a message, he'll call me. So we've had good relationship, which is great. He lost his mum 2 weeks ago, which is sad, and I spoke to him. He put his mum to rest last week. So he's human. He's going through a lot. I believe the place has got so big, so out of control. I think it's just done his head in the whole place. And I really think he did announce on Friday, 2 hours after I made an interview with Chris Smith, he announced that he was finishing up early July. So it's just, I knew he was getting ready to go. So this is not something that's just come out of the blue, but I think he's just, after the loss of his mum, I think this is just too much and it's getting at him. And, I don't wish him any ill at all.
No, look, well, I'm with you, John. Look, I don't wish him any ill either. But look, at the end of the day, these people are on $500,000 a year. I mean, every other person, has been through. You've been through it. Absolute. I don't know, it's terrorism what they've put us through during COVID. It's the worst of the worst. It goes back to and it's comparable with Nazi Germany. These people should be put on trial for the most heinous crimes that we've ever experienced in a lifetime or are likely to ever experience in a lifetime. The majority of people out there don't even know what's gone on. They think that they've been saved by some wonder drug. I mean, it's absolutely criminal what's gone on. They should be put on trial. Rob Rogers was one of these people that went along with this advice from Kerry Chan and others about, you must be vaccinated. You must wear 500 masks on your head. You can't, walk around and talk to anyone within a radius of 20 metres. I mean, these are the sorts of crazy things that they went along. So they don't get a lot of sympathy from me, I'm afraid. I mean, I'm sorry for the loss of his mother, and that's tragic. But at the end of the day, they're on good money. They get paid to make decisions. And look, a lot of these decisions have not been humane. They have not taken into account the community that they represent, in my opinion. That they've abandoned their
Volunteers have been abandoned. We've
Yeah.
just been deserted. Yeah. If you're not in the club, you're gone. It's as simple as that. I mean, if you'd met this group captain out of Deniliquin, he's just the nicest guy, and everyone speaks so glowingly of him. And he's just really speaks, just a lovely guy. They suspended him because you're not allowed to question the district manager out there. That's the problem. There were some concerns about vehicle allocations and that, and he was persistent on that. So their way of fixing that is to lodge a complaint on you to get you suspended. That gets you out the door.
Mm.
I mean,
Well, John, it's like this guy Bruce down in Albury. I mean, he's got cancer.
Right.
The RFS, they've got this benevolent fund with all that leftover money from Celeste Barber. I mean, listen, people, just pull apart your red tape, for God's sake. I mean, there's a board that's there to dish out that money. This is a guy that is going through hell. And the RFS have abandoned him. Abandoned him. He's injured on the job. He's got a 61% impaired injury from being on the job, and he gets, a pittance of what a full-time firefighter would get because he's a volunteer. Now, what happens in one of these helicopter crashes? You've got two volunteers in there, and you get two paid staff. The two paid staff get three times.
I know.
Volunteers.
It's lunacy. It's lunacy. I know. Now, the minister has addressed this issue, and I asked him to speak to Bruce, and he did. And they've had a Teams meeting. But again, Bruce felt, it's terrible. He's got a colostomy bag now. He's about to go into a hospital in Melbourne because it's closer to Albury, and he's going to have his bladder taken out. Now, I'm trying as hard as I can to get someone in government to listen. I mean, the government's we've just talked about it. They waste millions of dollars every day. For God's sake, give this bloke the difference and let him, if and when, the time comes, at least he knows his family will be looked after. And that's what I've made my number one thing at the moment, to get that fixed for him.
Well, look, just take a few of your Learjets off your winery tours and divert the money down to Bruce, will you? That's the least you can do.
Yes.
Not how they roll. John, we go back to that interview we did not long ago with that Qantas pilot. That we've done an interview with a guy who says that the interview is not to go to air until he dies, because he doesn't want it to affect his family's chance of getting the proper payouts. There are some absolute criminal grubs running these corporations.
Yeah.
That's the problem. They're all corporations.
Well, and there's one going before the court, Woody. A Qantas pilot that was terminated after he couldn't take the vaccine because he was on sick leave, undergoing cancer treatment. He said, "I'll have the vaccine when I return to work, when I'm well." They said, "No, that's not good enough," and terminated him. Now, how is that the spirit of Australia? Fair ink.
Well, look, one senior manager in Qantas said that if this gets out, the way we're treating these pilots, we're going to look like a hat full of arseholes. I'm sorry, mate. You already do. You already do. I mean, it's just reprehensible. And so we're talking about something that's broad spectrum right across the society of Australia. There are too many people working in HR. There are too many box tickers. There are too many managers and directors. And as I say, we were better off when we were fighting fires with knapsacks and Hessian bags.
Absolutely. It's
All right,
sad.
we've got to bring this to a close. I've got a lot of packing to do before I hit the road, and Let's close it with a prayer, eh? Lord Father in heaven, we thank you for our volunteers in this country who have a heart to serve, Lord, and we have a heart to serve. And we want to thank you, Father, for the wonderful messages that John and I have received in the last few days around issues that we've been copying. And Lord, we know that a lot of people are angry and upset and they're looking for someone to blame. But we need to aim our rifles in the right direction. So, Lord, grant us grace and mercy and cover us with your glory. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. And Hoodie, I just want to announce two very significant things from Snowy Valleys Council. One is in relation to the RFS. They put forward a motion to write to the Commissioner, Rob Rogers, to ask him to explain whether his organisation is in fact in breach of the policy on competitive neutrality and whether they are in breach of the Consumer Act of 2010, I think it is. And so that's a significant motion going forward as to whether it is valid to actually spend that $3.8 million on the hangar to house these helicopters for the RFS. And the other thing which will really excite people, I think the Snowy Valleys Council also voted to include a motion for the upcoming Australia-wide local government conference in Canberra for a Royal Commission into the handling of COVID.
Well done. Well done. It's all done at the grassroots, at local government. And they're the people who should be working in conjunction with the volunteers to keep our fire trucks on the road, Johnny Russell.
Yeah. If I could just finish with one thing. They are officially advertising from tomorrow for a new RFS commissioner. I just hope, as do I know all volunteers hope, that we don't end up with someone from a different emergency agency, if you know what I mean. Rather, we get one that is possibly an ex-volunteer that fully understands the volunteer ethos and gets in there and supports us instead of just supporting mates.
There you go, Shane Fitzsimmons. There's a job going, mate. Come out of retirement and go back to work. All right, guys. Johnny Russell, it's been a pleasure to have you on, mate. We want to talk to you more about this as time goes
Thank you
by.
very much.
Thanks for coming on. Johnny Larder, you've often been heard to say.
You just couldn't make this stuff up.
I think at least 3 times on this show tonight you've said that. And stay out of the trees, everybody. Don't forget what you did yesterday got you to today. Thanks again for all your love and support. Keep watching us. We're going to keep doing this as much as we can. It'll be a bit disjointed over the next 3 weeks while Michelle and I are away, but we'll try and bring you some great content from the US, and we'll hopefully get a few interviews worked out once we get the time zone sorted. So stay with Club Grubbery because we're staying with you. God bless you all, and bye for now.